All right, well, welcome to our staff meeting today. I know that everybody's time is valuable and important, and so I'd like to go ahead and get started. As you're aware, at several of our meetings this year, I always think it's important to discuss kind of the current up-to-date events that are happening as a part of our educational system. One current issue that I know is on all of our minds right now is the idea of teacher accountability. Um, However, before we dive, too deep into that current situation, I think it's important to reflect and have a better understanding of how we got to where we are. What sort of events in history led up to this point, and how it affects those decisions for teacher accountability. I want to speak a little bit about a gentleman named Horace Mann. Mr. Mann played a significant role in public education in the 1800s. Because of his contributions to that educational system, he also oftentimes gets the name of the father of American education. Mann was a great visionary when it came to public schools. He was named the first Secretary of Education and was later President of the Senate. During his time in the Senate, he was able to earmark funding and dollars to be able to establish the State Board of Education. While he was the Secretary of Education, his primary role at that time was to collect information about the current conditions of schools. How were the buildings set up? What sort of things were happening in those buildings? And then his job was to report those observations to the government, so he's able to write a report and turn that into government officials. He was also able to hold town meetings and discuss his findings about the current schools and the conditions of the schools in those towns. In doing a little research about what our current Department of Education does and its purpose, here's what I found. They have a job of ensuring equal opportunity for everybody that attends a school. Another additional job is to supplement and complement the efforts of the state boards of education. They encourage the public to be involved in education. They promote improvement programs. They assist in making recommendations for dispersing federal dollars, and then they have an increasing accountability in federal programs. While it's important to note that our current Department of Education maybe plays a more active role in education due to those responsibilities, I really think that Horace Mann did an outstanding job of laying the foundation of a quality public education system. Another important thing that Horace Mann did is he funded the first training center for teachers. He strongly believed that teaching was a skill that required development, that you needed to be trained to do it. And he felt that it was important to train teachers not only to make sure that they had knowledge of the subject matter that they were teaching, but he also wanted them to be able to maintain discipline in the classroom, because he knew good learning and quality learning couldn't occur unless there was discipline being used in the classroom. But most importantly, he believed that teachers needed to have the ability to deliver instruction and information in the best way that suited the students in their classrooms. And I think that's important to remember for today and how we need to deliver instruction for the students in our classroom. Horace Mann felt that rote memory of facts and dates and names wasn't an effective or desirable way for children to learn, and that teachers needed to encourage children to be to discover why things happen and the relationships as to why things happen. He believed that they needed to use critical thinking skills in their learning. And I really believe that Mann's thinking and beliefs and those principles should continue to be in our focus today. But unfortunately, as we all know, we're being confronted with high-stakes testing, and teacher accountability seems to be a hot topic right now. And it seems like the government helps us maybe lose our focus on our students' learning and what really is best for students. Before I jump ahead to 2015, I want to share some interesting research about man's ideas that I still feel are true today. Citizens cannot maintain both ignorance and freedom. So it's our job living in the United States to understand the effects of the government on public education. Yes, all of our students need to attend school, and we need to do everything in our power to educate them to the best of our abilities. And so it's important that we're educated about government's decisions in education. He also felt that schools, that the public should pay for schools and help maintain those school buildings. He also believed that schools need to embrace all children, no matter what their backgrounds or diversity is. And he also believed that public schools should not be taught alongside any religion. The religion piece slowly started to disappear out of those public school systems, and he was having teachers teach reading and math and spelling, but also involving the arts of music and physical education. But the most important principle I think he talked about was that teachers must be provided with training, and those teachers must be well trained and prepared to enter those classrooms. So his point of having well-trained professionals connects well with our current issue of teacher accountability. While there are lots of positive elements to teacher accountability, for example, holding teachers to know best practice is super important to teacher accountability, but they need to not just know best practice, but we need to be using best practice. We need to have teachers need to have knowledge of their curriculum, of the state standards, but also how they need to have the skills to be able to deliver that great instruction. And so all of this has to do with knowing what happens in classrooms. And that's not solely what the teachers are doing, but it needs to be measured by the students and their successes. And those successes should be evaluated on a continual basis. I believe truly that one test on one day does not give an accurate picture always of what students know and what they've learned and what they're able to do. So I think it's important that we gauge performance using a variety of methods, which I know we're all doing in our classrooms. As I was doing a little research before this presentation, I found an article that addressed teaching and testing. And they talked about these high-stakes tests and how some feel that it's dumbing down the teaching profession, making this job simpler for teachers who are struggling because they're going to just teach to the test. And then there's an issue that it makes it boring for teachers that are creative. So as a staff, I want us to become better at what we do. If teachers are doing effective teaching and learning is taking place in a way that kids are really engaged and exciting, then I know that good test results will follow. So as a staff today, I want you to discuss with your learning team what we need to do to improve so that we all become more effective at our jobs. So I want you to address in the document that I shared with you, what resources do you need? What materials do you need to get students excited about learning? We want students to be problem solvers and critical thinkers. So let's go ahead and break up into our learning teams, and let's start really some reflection about what good instruction is going on in our classrooms. We need to make sure we're using effective practices and that they're being implemented on a daily basis. So let's first reflect on those great practices that are going on in classrooms every single day in our building. And then let's also work on a list of things that we know we need to do to improve and to get better. I'm really excited to meet with your learning teams once you've formulated this document because I want to discuss how to make our classrooms the most effective learning environments that we can. So let's go ahead and break into those groups today.